Welcome back to CoinTalk Podcast for another deep dive, into the world of crypto.
Always exciting.
It is. It's always fascinating. And today is no exception. We're going to be talking about a trend that we've been seeing lately surrounding Bitcoin ETFs.
Big topic.
It is a big topic. And, especially when you look at the numbers, over the past 2 weeks, there have been massive outflows from Bitcoin ETFs to the tune of over $1 billion.
Huge.
Huge. So for those maybe who need a little bit of a refresher and haven't been following it as closely, what exactly are Bitcoin ETFs?
So Bitcoin ETFs are essentially like a basket of Bitcoin that you can invest in, just like a stock.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a mutual fund for Bitcoin.
So it makes it easier for someone who's maybe not, as familiar or as comfortable to get into the crypto space.
Exactly. You can just go to their regular brokerage account
Right.
and buy shares of a Bitcoin ETF.
And when these were launched about a year ago, they were really seen as this, big step towards mainstream acceptance.
Definitely a lot of excitement.
So, what is driving this sudden shift in investor behavior?
Well, and the shift is pretty big. I mean, it's not just a little bit of money flowing out.
Yeah.
Data from Soso Value is showing consecutive weeks of over $500 million in outflows.
Wow.
Yeah, if this continues, February 2025 could be the worst month ever.
For Bitcoin ETF withdrawals.
For Bitcoin ETF withdrawals.
Okay, so to really understand what's going on, I think we need to dig a little deeper.
Yeah.
And we've got two experts that we're going to pull from to kind of frame our conversation.
Okay.
And that is Marcus Thielen, head of research at 10X Research, and Cadan Stadelman, CTO at Komodo Platform.
Great.
So let's start with Thielen because he's got some interesting research that suggests a surprisingly large portion of ETF investors might be more interested in short-term profits rather than long-term holding.
Interesting.
So it's almost like they're looking at these Bitcoin ETFs as kind of a get-rich-quick scheme.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than a long-term investment.
Just trying to ride the waves.
Yeah.
Make a quick buck.
Exactly. And his data shows that only about 44% of inflows appear to be from those investors that are focused on the long term.
Right. So the majority are not.
The majority are doing something called arbitrage.
Yeah, and maybe we should just explain that quickly for people.
Yeah. What is arbitrage?
So arbitrage is basically taking advantage of price differences between different markets.
Okay.
So for example, you could buy Bitcoin on one exchange at a lower price.
Right.
And then immediately sell it on another exchange where it's trading higher.
Got it.
It's a strategy for making a quick profit from that price difference.
So Thielen's research is suggesting that a lot of this ETF activity might be driven by these short-term trading tactics rather than a belief in Bitcoin's long-term potential.
Yeah, and that really challenges that whole narrative of widespread institutional adoption.
Right.
We've been hearing that big players are getting into Bitcoin.
Right.
But if they were truly bullish on its future, you'd think they'd be holding for the long haul.
Holding on.
Not just trying to make a quick profit.
Yeah. So Stadelman brings up an interesting point of comparison.
Okay.
He kind of juxtaposes what's happening with Bitcoin ETFs with what's happening with gold ETFs.
Interesting.
Bitcoin ETFs, money flowing out. Gold ETFs, money flowing in.
Yeah, it's a fascinating contrast.
What could be behind that?
Well, gold, it's always been considered a safe haven asset.
Yeah.
Something that people turn to when they're uncertain about the economy.
When things are a little rocky.
Right. So could it be that investors are getting nervous about the current market conditions?
Okay.
And shifting their assets towards something that feels more stable?
So maybe there's a little bit of fear creeping in?
Possibly.
And so we've got these two opposing trends happening.
Right.
Money flowing out of Bitcoin ETFs into gold ETFs.
Exactly.
And it's like, could this be a sign that the market in general is a little shaky?
Yeah, it's a possibility. And, to add another layer to this, Stadelman points out that Berkshire Hathaway...
Warren Buffett.
Yeah. Warren Buffett's company is sitting on a record $334.2 billion in cash.
That is a lot of cash on hand.
That's a ton of cash.
What does that tell us?
Well, it suggests that even seasoned investors like Warren Buffett,
they're
being cautious right now.
Okay.
They're holding on to their cash.
Waiting for the right moment.
Maybe waiting for a better opportunity to buy back into the market.
Maybe when prices are lower.
Potentially.
Okay, so we've got these anxieties.
Yeah.
We've got these major players like Buffett kind of waiting on the sidelines. What else should we be looking at when we try to understand this Bitcoin ETF exodus?
Well, Stadelman brings up a political factor.
Okay.
Remember Donald Trump talking about bringing back reciprocal tariffs if he gets reelected.
Right.
That could be a source of concern for investors.
Why?
Because tariffs often lead to inflation.
Yeah.
And they can disrupt global trade.
Uncertainty.
Exactly. And uncertainty is not something that markets.
So Stadelman actually sees Bitcoin's recent downward trend as kind of a warning sign for the whole market.
He calls it a canary in the coal mine.
What does he mean by that?
So Bitcoin being a relatively young asset and quite volatile, it tends to react very quickly to changes in market sentiment.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a sensitive barometer picking up on changes in the economic weather.
Interesting.
Before those changes fully manifest in other asset classes like stocks or bonds.
So it's like an early indicator.
Exactly.
Okay.
Like the canary in the coal mine, if Bitcoin starts to struggle, it could be a sign that trouble is brewing for the wider market.
Okay, so if Bitcoin is reacting first to a potential shift, this exodus from Bitcoin ETFs could be an early indicator of a much bigger correction on the horizon.
Yeah, that's the concern. It's a possibility, and don't forget we saw the stock market dip on Friday.
Right.
That could be another piece of this puzzle. Stadelman sees that as a potential confirmation of those early tremors.
So we've got all these factors at play. The arbitrage, the flight to safety, these big players waiting on the sidelines, potential political risks. All this seems to contribute to this whole Bitcoin ETF exodus.
Yeah, it's a complex situation.
It's a complex picture. And, I think it's really interesting for those of us who follow this space really closely.
Right.
But I wonder, what does it mean for the average person?
Yeah.
Who's maybe just hearing about Bitcoin ETFs and market corrections and all of this?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
I would say, don't panic.
Don't panic.
Volatility is just part of the crypto landscape.
Yeah.
Bitcoin's gone through ups and downs before.
It's been through a lot.
And it's always come out the other side.
So you're saying this isn't a sign that Bitcoin is doomed?
Not at all. It's just a reminder that crypto can be volatile in the short term.
Yeah.
But what's important is to focus on the long-term potential.
And the technology.
And the technology behind it.
It's still evolving.
Absolutely.
It's easy to get caught up in those day-to-day price movements.
Yeah, you can get lost in the weeds.
Exactly.
You got to zoom out, look at the big picture.
See the forest for the trees.
Exactly. And, for anyone new to crypto, the best advice is to just start educating yourself.
Learn.
Yeah, there's so much information out there.
Yeah.
And a lot of great resources right here on CoinTalk Podcast.
That's right. We cover all sorts of topics to help you understand this world.
Absolutely. From the basics of Bitcoin to more complex stuff like DeFi and NFTs.
And remember, new videos every week.
That's right.
So make sure to subscribe to CoinTalk Podcast on YouTube.
Yeah, don't miss out.
And, we have a great community of viewers.
Yeah.
Who are always engaged in the comments section.
Yeah, it's a really active community.
So feel free to ask questions, share your thoughts.
Connect with other people.
We're all here to learn together.
Absolutely. Learning from each other is so important.
Now, before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something we talked about earlier.
Right.
That whole idea of Bitcoin being a canary in the coal mine.
Right. That analogy.
A potential signal of a broader market correction.
Yeah, that's an intriguing concept.
It really is.
Is there any historical data to support that?
Yeah, well, have we seen this before?
Right. Do Bitcoin's price movements actually tend to precede broader market downturns?
So does Bitcoin really act as this kind of early warning system?
Well, there are a few instances where Bitcoin's price movements have seemed to precede broader market downturns.
Oh, really? Like when?
For example, in late 2018, Bitcoin experienced a significant decline.
Yeah.
And a few months later, the stock market saw a correction.
So there's some historical precedent for this idea.
Yeah, it's not a sure thing, of course.
Right.
Correlation doesn't always equal causation.
But it's definitely something to keep an eye on.
Definitely something to consider.
So for investors who might be listening and hearing all this talk about a potential market correction, what should they be doing?
I wouldn't advise panicking and selling everything.
Okay.
No one can predict the market with absolute certainty.
Right.
There are always multiple factors at play.
So what would you recommend?
I would say do your own research.
Yeah.
Assess your risk tolerance.
Okay.
And consider diversifying your portfolio.
That makes sense, spreading your investments across different asset classes.
Exactly. It helps to cushion the blow if one particular market takes a hit.
So if someone's feeling a little uneasy about their holdings, especially if they're heavily invested in crypto,
right,
what should they be thinking about?
Maybe consider rebalancing your portfolio.
Okay.
Allocating a portion to less volatile assets.
Like what?
Like bonds or precious metals.
Things that tend to be a little bit more stable.
Exactly. Those tend to hold up better during turbulent times.
And I think it's important to emphasize, investing should always be a well-informed process.
Absolutely.
Don't let your emotions make decisions for you.
Right. Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
The more you understand about the market, the better equipped you'll be to make sound decisions.
And that's what we're all about here at CoinTalk Podcast.
Absolutely. We're here to help you navigate this exciting world.
Break down those complex topics.
Share expert opinions.
Analyze market trends.
Give you the tools you need.
Exactly. So if you're looking to expand your understanding of crypto, make more informed decisions.
Hit that subscribe button.
Subscribe to CoinTalk Podcast on YouTube.
We release new videos every week,
covering all sorts of stuff from Bitcoin basics to DeFi, NFTs, you name it.
And we have a fantastic community of viewers.
Always active in the comments.
Yeah, feel free to ask questions, share your thoughts, connect with other crypto enthusiasts.
It's a great place to learn from each other and stay up to date.
So to recap this whole Bitcoin ETF exodus, it's a development worth paying attention to.
For sure.
It raises questions about investor sentiment and the potential for a wider market correction.
No need to panic.
No, but it's a good opportunity to reevaluate your investment strategy, diversify your portfolio, and maybe seek guidance from a financial advisor if you need it.
Good advice. The crypto world is constantly changing.
It's a wild ride.
Full of opportunities and challenges. That's for sure. Stay informed, stay curious, and always do your own research.
Absolutely.
And for all things crypto,
CoinTalk Podcast is here to guide you.
That's right. Thanks for joining us today on CoinTalk Podcast.
Be sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, and share it with your friends.
We'll see you next time.